I kept her secret for 8 months, even when it destroyed my friendships. I thought I was protecting her, until I learned why she never wanted the truth to come out. Now I can't unhear what she whispered that night. I wish I could tell you this was some petty falling out between friends, but it wasn't. My friend's boyfriend did something to her, something that took away her sense of safety, her trust, her innocence. And if that wasn't enough, my other best friend? She got on FaceTime with him and laughed about it. Said my friend was being dramatic, just trying to get attention. The night I called her out for betraying us, she didn't deny it. She just smiled through watery eyes and said, "Derek promised to marry me if I helped him." I didn't say a word. That was 8 months ago. This morning she was outside my apartment, begging me to testify for her. 8 months earlier it was supposed to be just another one of our monthly sleepovers at Jenna's. Face mask smeared on, half-empty bottles of rose on the counter, Love Island droning on in the background. But the real miracle? Mia was laughing again for the first time since. Derek. I ducked into Jenna's room to grab my charger, and froze when I heard muffled giggling from the closet. I cracked the door open. Ashley. On FaceTime. With Derek. My stomach turned ice cold. "She's being so dramatic about the whole thing," Ashley was saying, her voice syrupy. "Okay, maybe you were a little forceful, but calling it what she's calling it? She just wants attention." My hands fumbled for my phone. I hit record. "I miss you," Derek's voice came through. "I'll see you soon, my love." I backed out before I could throw up. Texted the group chat, everyone except Ashley and Mia. "Bathroom. Now. Emergency." When I played the clip for them, Kendra's face went red with rage. Jenna had to hold her back. "That freaking." "Wait, shut up," Priya cut in, scrolling on her phone like a woman possessed. "Look at this." She held up Derek's mom's Instagram. A black tie charity gala for their family foundation. 3 weeks away. All of high society would be there. "He thinks he's untouchable," Tiana muttered. And just like that, we all had the same plan. "Mia's going on a spa weekend," I said slowly. "Jenna, Kendra, you take her. The rest of us." "Say less," Tiana grinned. For the next 2 weeks, we went to work. First stop, research. The Harrison family didn't just have money, they had image. Their foundation was all about traditional values and proper young ladies. Every gala photo we found was a parade of floor-length high-necked gowns. So obviously, we shopped for the exact opposite. Carmen held up a fire engine red dress with more cutouts than fabric. "This one? Perfect." Tiana found a silver sequin number with a slit that could cause car accidents. I picked a black backless dress that my grandmother would have had blessed by a priest. "And the heels? Minimum 6 inches. "I literally can't walk in these," Priya laughed, wobbling. "Practice, babe. We have 2 weeks." We stalked Derek's socials until we knew his schedule, his friends, his habits. We even practiced our cover story. We were his wild phase study group buddies from school. The night of the gala, the energy in Jenna's apartment was electric. By the time we were done getting ready, we looked like we belonged in a music video, not a charity event. "Remember," Tiana said, adjusting her neckline, "we're the fun friends from college." 2 Ubers dropped us at the Fairmont. The valet's jaw literally dropped. Inside, crystal chandeliers glowed over a sea of pearls and silk gloves. And then us. "We're here for Derek Harrison," I announced to security, loud enough to turn heads. "He said to come find him." The guard looked confused but let us in. "There," Carmen whispered. Derek stood with his parents and Ashley, wrapped in a demure navy dress. His face when he spotted us? Worth framing. We strutted across the ballroom like it was a catwalk. "Baby." Tiana called. "You didn't tell us it was this fancy." His mom's eyes went wide. His dad's face flushed crimson. Ashley's hand twitched toward Derek like she could physically shield him. "I'm sorry, who are you?" His mom asked, voice like ice. "We're Derek's friends from school," I said, slinging an arm around him. He was stiff as a mannequin. "Right, Dee?" "I don't." "Don't be shy," Priya teased. "Remember that night at Sigma Chi when you were showing everyone those photos?" Carmen added sweetly. "The ones of that girl, what was her name? Started with M?" His father stepped forward. "I think there's been a mistake." "No mistake," Tiana smiled. "Derek invited us. Said you'd love to meet the girls he parties with." By now, half the room was staring. Including his grandmother. "Derek's always talking about y'all," I told his mom. "Especially when he's drunk. Gets real emotional." Carmen leaned in. "Remember when you were crying about that girl? Said you felt so bad, but Daddy would fix it." Ashley tried pulling him away. Priya stepped in. "Oh, you must be the new girlfriend. Did he tell you about us?" The crowd swelled. People with more money than God, but no shortage of appetite for drama. Finally, Derek spoke. "I don't know these people." Tiana pulled out her phone. "Weird. I've got so many texts from you." Security moved in, but his grandmother lifted a hand. "Let them speak." His dad gripped Derek's arm. "We're leaving." But the damage was already done. The whispers spread like wildfire. Then, the cherry on top. An older woman dripping in diamonds stepped forward. "That boy hurt someone?" We nodded. "How bad?" "Hospital bad." That was it. Derek didn't lose his freedom, Daddy's money made sure of that, but his reputation? His family's respect? Gone. Forever. When we finally told Mia what we'd learned, she didn't say a word at first. She just stared at us, and then the tears started. After that night, she went quiet. No texts. No calls. I figured she just needed space to process everything. But about a month later, she broke her silence. Not with words. With a photo. 2 pink lines on a pregnancy test. Derek's name typed underneath. I just sat there, phone in my hand, staring. My stomach twisted so hard I thought I might throw up. I typed back without even thinking, asked if she wanted me to come over. Her reply was instant, I just need some time to think. The group chat lit up like wildfire, everyone except Ashley. Kendra was firing off links to clinics in Boston. Priya was already researching Massachusetts laws for cases like Mia's. Tiana kept typing, deleting, typing again, but never sending. 4 days later, Ashley finally reappeared in the chat. Claimed she had no idea Derek was like that. Said she dumped him right after the gala and was taking time to process. Kendra wasn't buying it. She dropped a screenshot from Ashley's Instagram story yesterday, and there it was, the Tiffany necklace Derek gave her, shining around her neck. Silence. 2 weeks after Mia's news, Jenna called an emergency meeting. No Mia. No Ashley. Just the rest of us back in the same living room where this whole thing started, except now without Mia's laughter it felt cold and hollow. Priya pulled up Derek's Instagram on her laptop. There he was, grinning at lacrosse practice like nothing had happened. Stories full of frat parties and champagne toasts. It made me want to smash the screen. A few days later, Mia called me. Said she needed a ride. When I pulled up, she was already outside in a giant BU hoodie, despite it being a perfect 70 degrees day. She climbed in, gave me an address. A medical building in Brooklyn. The whole drive was silent, except when the nurse asked how far along she was. 8 weeks, she said in this flat, hollow voice I'd never heard from her before. The doctor was gentle, walked her through every option, keeping the baby, adoption, termination. I held Mia's hand the whole time. It was ice cold. By the end, she had a folder full of pamphlets and a warning not to wait too long if she wanted certain choices. We sat in my car afterward in the dim light of the parking garage. That's when she broke. Ugly, gasping sobs. Between breaths, she told me Derek's family lawyers had contacted her parents with an offer for her silence. Her church-going parents, the ones who made her promise to save herself for marriage, knew everything now. And they wanted her to keep the baby and take the money. 3 days later, I basically moved into her apartment. She wasn't eating unless I put food in front of her. The Harrison lawyers had sent over a thick stack of papers, $500,000 for her silence. They'd cover medical costs. They'd even relocate her anywhere she wanted, as long as she never said Derek's name in public again. The NDA was 40 pages long, legal gag order for the rest of her life. Meanwhile, Kendra was digging. Turns out Mia wasn't the only one. 3 other girls from Boston area schools had filed complaints against Derek, all dropped. Each girl suddenly had a scholarship from the Harrison Foundation and conveniently transferred schools. Then, one night around midnight, Ashley showed up at my dorm. Mascara streaks down her face, hands trembling so bad she could barely hold her phone. She barged in, sat on my bed and started sobbing about how Derek was threatening her. Said she felt trapped. I kept my face calm, opened QuickTime, and pretended to check emails while recording every word. She rambled about how controlling he was, and then she slipped. She said, it must be so hard for Mia with the pregnancy and morning sickness. We hadn't told anyone about the pregnancy. I asked, casual as I could, how she knew. She backtracked immediately, claimed she just assumed. But the damage was done. When she left, I saved that recording in 3 different places and texted the group, minus Ashley. 3 weeks later at 3 a.m. Mia texted me, I need you right now. I still don't know how Ashley knew. Was Derek feeding her information? Was she still playing both sides? I threw on sweats and drove over. Found Mia sitting on her bathroom floor, holding another pregnancy test. She looked up at me and said, I'm keeping it. Something beautiful should come from something horrible. That night we sat on her bedroom floor with pints of Ben & Jerry's, scrolling through adoption websites until the sun came up. The next day the group rallied. Jenna made a color-coded schedule for doctor visits. Kendra researched the top OBGYNs in Boston. Priya set up a meal train. Everyone pitched in except Ashley. She was busy posting Instagram stories from Derek's family's Cape Cod house, captions about summer vibes and blessed. Tiana screenshotted everything and started building a timeline in a shared Google Doc, every time Ashley was with Derek versus every time she claimed to be afraid of him. And let me tell you, the pattern wasn't pretty. 2 weeks later, I was walking to my car after an evening class when I saw him. Derek. Flanked by 2 of his lacrosse buddies, blocking the entrance to the parking garage like it was some mob movie. He stepped right into my space, close enough that I could smell the cologne, and said, Mia better sign those papers, or things will get complicated for all of us. I slipped my phone into my pocket and hit record just before his hand clamped down on my arm, hard enough to leave a bruise I'd carry for days. His buddy just stood there, smirking, while Derek went on about how his dad had connections everywhere, and we had no idea who we were messing with. The next morning, I went straight to campus police. The officer was half listening, until I said Derek's last name. Then the conversation changed. Suddenly it was all, you don't want to ruin a young man's future. Are you sure you didn't misunderstand? Had you been drinking? I rolled up my sleeve and showed him the bruises. He shrugged and said they could have happened anywhere. I walked out of there without signing a thing. Called my mom's lawyer friend instead. She told me to document everything, daily photos of the bruises, time-stamped. 5 days later, Jenna's older sister, a social worker, connected us with a pregnancy support group. No religious lectures. No politics. Just women helping women. Mia agreed to try one meeting. I sat in the back with her in this little community center while women told their stories. When one woman spoke about choosing adoption, how it was the hardest and best decision of her life, Mia's hand squeezed mine so tight my fingers went numb. That same week, Priya asked to borrow Ashley's laptop for a stats assignment. Ashley was in the shower, and that's when Priya found the recently deleted folder. Screenshots of our group chat. Photos of Mia's appointment cards. My class schedule. Private conversations about the pregnancy, all forwarded to Derek, with little updates about what we were planning. Priya airdropped every file to her phone. We called an emergency meeting at Jenna's. When we confronted Ashley, she sobbed about how Derek promised to marry her after graduation if she helped manage the situation. She even showed bruises on her arms, claiming he hurt her too. Kendra didn't buy it. Said the bruises didn't match her story and pointed out how Ashley's version kept changing. Meanwhile, Mia's morning sickness hit like a freight train. I started skipping my morning classes to sit on her bathroom floor, holding her hair back, bringing ginger tea and saltines. She'd make these dark little jokes about how Derek's baby was already making her suffer, but some days neither of us laughed. Exactly 1 week later, there was a knock at Mia's door. It was Derek's mother. She stepped out of a black town car in a suit that probably cost more than Mia's rent for the year. Sat on Mia's thrift store couch like she was slumming it, clutching a designer purse and laid out a new offer. $750,000. A house in another state. Sign the papers. Disappear. She kept calling it generosity. Kept reminding Mia that girls like her didn't get chances like this. I was hiding in the bedroom, phone recording through the cracked door. 45 minutes of this garbage before she finally left. Mia just sat there, staring at the check like it was radioactive. Then, with shaking hands, she tore it into confetti and dropped it in the trash. That's when Tiana texted. Her cousin in IT could help us secure everything. That night, we drove to his apartment. He set up an encrypted cloud, walked us through chain of custody protocols, and had us uploading every screenshot, video, and document we had until 4 a.m. The next week, Mia started going to the hospital support group. The leader, Sandra, kept watching her like she'd seen her before. After the third meeting, Sandra pulled her aside, handed her a card with a personal number on the back, and said, "I've worked cases with wealthy families before. Call me if you need me." 3 days later, Ashley blew up my phone, begging me to meet her alone, because she had info that could help Mia. I didn't trust her, so I brought Priya, who sat 2 tables over at Starbucks pretending to study. Ashley looked wrecked. Dark circles, jumpy eyes, checking her phone every minute. Finally, she said Derek had done this before, back in prep school. His parents paid off a girl's family, got her to transfer before graduation. That night, Priya and I dug until we found someone named Emma who had transferred during Derek's junior year. Priya messaged her on Instagram, saying we wanted to help someone Derek hurt. Emma read it instantly and blocked us. 4 days later was Mia's first ultrasound. I went with her. The second that tiny heartbeat filled the room, she broke, sobbing so hard she couldn't breathe. She kept whispering that she couldn't hate something so innocent, even if it came from something so violent. The following week, we went back for another appointment, but Derek was already there. He was at the reception desk, demanding his rights as the father. Security had to drag him out while he screamed about getting a court order. Mia had a panic attack so bad in the parking lot, we had to call an ambulance. Sandra showed up at the hospital later. And that's when she told us she was a retired attorney who now helped survivors pro bono. She took one look at the Harrison family's NDA and pointed out clause after clause that could blow their case wide open. After that scare, I moved in with Mia full-time. We made tea together every morning. Took her vitamins side by side. Walked to campus like we were guarding royalty. We told ourselves we were keeping things normal. But deep down, we were both waiting for the next attack. Kendra had been playing a dangerous game. Pretending to forgive Ashley. Inviting her out for coffee. Acting like she wanted to make peace. But while Ashley was in the bathroom, Kendra slid her phone across the table and opened it just long enough to see something, a recording app. Dozens of files. All labeled. Conversations from our hangouts, private talks, moments we thought were safe. She didn't touch a thing, just snapped photos of the app and the file names. Put it back exactly how she found it so Ashley would never know we knew. 2 weeks later, Mia's parents showed up at her apartment without warning. The Harrison lawyers had clearly gotten to them again, this time with a fresh offer. Her dad spent an hour lecturing about forgiveness, about keeping the baby, because abortion was a sin. Her mom kept whispering about what people at church would think. When Mia finally told them to leave, they refused. So she threatened to call the police. Her dad turned beet red and stormed out, dragging her mother behind him. That night, after everyone else had gone home, Mia finally told me everything. She was curled up on her couch, knees tucked to her chest, voice barely a whisper. She told me how Derek was so charming at first, flowers, dinners, making her feel like the most important girl in the world. 3 weeks into dating, he invited her over to watch a movie. She thought it was safe. But once they were alone, he started pushing. When she said no, he got angry. And then he held her down. She kept saying no, but he was stronger and she couldn't get away. I held her while she shook and cried, and that's when I understood. The reality was even worse than we'd imagined. 5 days later, Priya called me, voice shaking. Emma, the girl from Derek's old prep school, had messaged her back. She wouldn't put anything in writing, so we drove 3 hours to meet her at a diner near her college. She was jumpy, scanning the room like someone might be watching. Her hands shook as she lifted her coffee. Emma told us Derek had done the exact same thing to her at 16, at a party in his parents' house. She went to the hospital, had a rape kit done, and then Derek's family paid her parents $200,000 to stay quiet. The check cleared and she was gone from school. Transfer papers. NDA. Silence. Emma gave us a name, Sophia, another girl who left his prep school suddenly during sophomore year. But she warned us, the Harrison family had connections everywhere. Judges. Police commissioners. University boards. This wasn't just Derek anymore. We were up against his entire family. By week 9, Mia had a tiny bump when she stood sideways in the mirror. She'd put her hand on it and just stare blankly. She decided on adoption but hadn't told her parents. We found an agency that let her pick the family herself. Then at 2 a.m. Ashley called me, sobbing so hard I could barely make out the words. Derek had found out she'd been talking to us about the prep school girls. Now he was threatening to leak her nudes. For the first time she sounded more scared of him than loyal to him. 3 days later, Sandra filed for a restraining order against Derek on Mia's behalf. The judge granted it immediately, which shocked us until Sandra admitted she'd clerked for that judge years ago. It was our first real win. We celebrated in Sandra's office with cheap champagne. We even threw Mia a strength party at Jenna's, not a baby shower, just a night about celebrating her. Ashley showed up looking exhausted, a bruise peeking from under her sleeve. For a few hours, we painted nails, watched trash TV, and pretended life was normal. But Derek wasn't done. By week 10, his frat brothers were leaving notes on Mia's car, calling her a liar, writing worse things I won't repeat. Campus security claimed they couldn't prove Derek told them to do it, but we all knew. Sandra photographed every note and added them to the harassment file. Sophia agreed to talk, but only over an encrypted video call. Too afraid to meet in person. She told us Derek had a pattern. He'd target girls without strong family support, love bomb them, isolate them. Then, once they were alone, he'd assault them and act like nothing happened. She even showed us photos of her bruises and diary pages with dates and details. 4 days later, I went with Mia to counseling. She was working through her decision about adoption. The therapist had her write a letter to the baby, explaining her choice was because she loved them too much to raise them in pain. Mia folded the letter and handed it to me. Keep it safe until they're old enough to understand. I put it in my desk drawer with our evidence, and that's when my phone started blowing up. The Harrisons had sent cease and desist letters to my parents, to Jenna's, to Kendra's. My dad was panicking, saying his small contracting business couldn't survive a lawsuit. My mom was crying in the background. Jenna's parents threatened to pull her from school. Kendra's mom drove 3 hours just to yell at her. We were all crammed in my dorm room trying to figure out our next move when Ashley showed up. She looked wrecked. Wordlessly, she handed me her phone. On it? Voice recordings of Derek, drunk, laughing about what he'd done to Mia. Bragging that she asked for it by coming over. Mocking how she tried to push him off but wasn't strong enough. Texts where he told Ashley not to worry because his dad would handle everything. Screenshots of him planning to get other girls drunk at parties. Ashley had been recording him for weeks. And now we had enough to bury him. 3 days later, Mia met the couple the agency had found for her baby. They were from the suburbs, warm, kind, the kind of people you can tell have been waiting for this moment their whole lives. They told her they'd been trying for 8 years. When Mia explained why she was placing the baby for adoption, the woman's eyes filled and then overflowed. They promised to send photos every month. Promised Mia could write letters as the child grew. Promised they would tell the truth when the time came. For the first time in weeks, I saw Mia's shoulders loosen. She'd found people who would care. The next week, things got ugly. Tiana and Priya were in the library when Derek's frat brothers cornered them between the stacks. They started in with the threats, muttering that campus wasn't safe for girls who spread lies. One of them even yanked Priya's backpack and dumped everything onto the floor. What they didn't know was that Priya had already started an Instagram live the second she saw them coming. By the time campus security arrived, the stream had gone viral. Comments were flooding in, people tagging Sigma members by name. Security shrugged it off, no one got hurt, but the video was everywhere. Sandra called the next day. She brought in another lawyer, one who specialized in going after wealthy families. She told us point blank. We had enough for a civil case. Criminal charges? That would be harder. The DA's office didn't like going after kids for money, especially kids with connections. Her advice? Go public. Use the media. Meanwhile, Mia's second trimester hit, and the change was obvious. No more morning sickness. More energy. We went to Target for maternity clothes, and she actually laughed when the jeans wouldn't button. She bought stretchy pants, oversized shirts. We even wandered over to the baby aisle, just to see what the adoptive parents might need. It was the happiest I'd seen her in months. 5 days later, I came back from class to find my dorm room door open. My stuff everywhere. My laptop gone. My roommate said she saw 2 guys leaving but didn't recognize them. Campus police took a report. Said there was nothing they could do. Thank God I'd backed up our entire evidence folder to the cloud the night before. After the library video blew up, more messages started pouring in. A girl said Derek grabbed her at a party and wouldn't let go until her boyfriend showed up. Another said her drink started tasting wrong after he handed it to her. 3 more girls from his high school reached out with the same pattern. We built a spreadsheet, dates, names, incidents. Ashley moved back in with her parents the next week. Before she left, she handed me a flash drive, everything from her relationship with Derek. Texts, photos, recordings. Screenshots where he bragged about other girls. Her last text to me was only 4 words, make him pay for it. Then the university tried another angle, threatening Mia with academic suspension for excessive absences. She had doctor's notes for every single one. Sandra went nuclear, firing off ADA violation warnings and discrimination claims. The suspension threat vanished within 24 hours, but we knew it wouldn't be the last stunt they tried. A week later, my phone rang while I was in the library. The caller ID said the Globe. My heart skipped. That's the biggest paper in the city. Her name was Rachel. She'd been digging into the Harrison Foundation for months, tracking shady money moves. She'd seen the gala video. She wanted to meet. We gathered at a coffee shop, all nerves. Rachel came armed with folders, spreadsheets, and a laser focus. She needed someone on record about Derek to connect the dots. We sat there for 3 hours, laying it all out. By the time we left, she looked like a woman who'd just found gold. 2 days later, we were studying at Jenna's when Mia went completely still, hand pressed to her stomach. Tears welled in her eyes. It moved, she whispered. We didn't know what to say. The baby was no longer abstract, it was real, alive, growing from the worst thing that ever happened to her. The next morning, I was leaving the student union when Derek's father stepped out of nowhere. His cologne was sharp, expensive, undercut by the sour tang of cigarettes. He leaned in and said he knew where my little sister went to school. Which bus she took. How accidents happen all the time to young girls who aren't careful. My hands shook so badly I almost dropped my phone, but I hit record in my pocket. Funny thing, the security cameras in that spot? Broken that day. Too convenient. But I had the audio. Sandra filed for an emergency protective order 4 days later. The judge's face darkened as she read our evidence, including my recording of his threats. The Harrisons sent 3 lawyers to argue we were harassing them. The judge didn't blink. She granted the order for our entire friend group. That weekend, the adoptive parents invited Mia to dinner. They lived in a yellow house in the suburbs with a swing set already in the yard. The nursery was soft green, decorated with elephants. They told us about 5 years of trying for a baby before their doctor said it would never happen naturally. Mia asked if they'd tell the child she loved them enough to give them a better life. The woman cried. The man promised they'd tell that story every single day. The Boston Globe article dropped that Tuesday. Within hours it was everywhere. The headline screamed about patterns of assault and cover-ups at an elite university. The Harrison family's stock dipped 3% in a day. Derek's lacrosse team suspended him pending investigation. Messages flooded my inbox, more girls with more stories. By week's end we had 5 survivors from his prep school alone. Same story every time, isolated at parties, waking up confused, and their families getting paid to disappear. Sandra said it outright, this could turn into a class action lawsuit. And she started booking meetings to make it happen. 5 days later, Mia hit one of her lowest points yet. She was curled up on the floor of my bathroom, sobbing, saying her body didn't even belong to her anymore. First Derek had taken it, now the baby was using it. I ran her a hot bath with the lavender soak she loves, sat just outside the door and started scrolling through Twitter. I read her the dumbest, funniest tweets I could find until, finally, I heard a small laugh through her tears. The next day, Derek posted his response. A slick little video claiming he was the victim, just a guy dealing with jealous girls who regretted normal hookups and wanted attention. His frat brothers blasted it everywhere. The comments turned into a battlefield, half the internet posting screenshots of the Globe article, the other half screaming innocent until proven guilty and attacking anyone who questioned him. 2 days later, the DA's office called. They were opening a criminal investigation. Mia was asked to come in for a formal interview. The detective was an older man with a notebook. He made her walk through every detail. Every sound. Every word. I held her hand so tightly I left marks. She had to stop 4 times just to breathe through panic attacks. When it was over, she threw up in the parking lot. We sat in my car for an hour before she felt steady enough to go home. That night, Ashley remembered 2 more girls. Emma Chen, from his high school, messaged back immediately, I've been waiting 3 years for someone to believe me. Sophia Martinez, from his freshman year, cried on the phone when we told her about Mia. Said it had happened to her too, but her parents made her keep quiet because of Derek's family. We started a group chat called Survivors. Emma shared her therapist's info, the one who finally helped her stop having nightmares. Sophia sent links to support groups none of us had ever heard of. They swapped the kind of dark jokes you can only make if you've lived it. Even Mia started typing more in the chat. One meme about bad therapy advice had us all laughing for the first time in weeks. Then it all blew up. A week later, Mia's medical record showed up on Boston UN, the campus gossip account. The post didn't list her name but the details? Her age. The date of the assault. Everyone put it together in minutes. Her phone exploded with hate. Messages calling her a liar. A whore. Saying she was trying to trap Derek for money. Someone even made a fake GoFundMe pretending to be her, asking for abortion money. The leak hit the local news and suddenly the university had to act. They opened a Title IX investigation. Derek was banned from campus. His fraternity went ballistic, organizing a protest outside the admin building with signs about false accusations ruining innocent men's lives. The frat president told the student paper Derek was being lynched without evidence. Meanwhile, Mia was at her 17-week anatomy scan when the baby started hiccuping on the screen. The tech asked if she wanted to know the gender. Mia shook her head. Asked them to write it in an envelope for the adoptive parents. Ashley took everything she had, the gala recordings, the closet video, to the Title IX hearing. Derek's lawyer tried to paint her as jealous and obsessed, but the committee kept circling back to the recording. The part where Derek basically confessed. They played it 3 times. Every time his voice filled the room, talking about how his dad would fix everything, Derek's face got a little paler. 4 days later, the adoptive parents came to one of Mia's appointments. Tears rolled down their cheeks as they watched the ultrasound. When they heard the heartbeat, the wife gripped her husband's hand so hard her knuckles went white. Mia told them about her vitamins. About how the baby kicked most at night. The husband kept saying thank you until his wife gently told him to stop. She could see it was making Mia uncomfortable. Week 18. I spent 6 hours at Mia's apartment helping her write her victim impact statement. She insisted on every detail, even when her hands shook too much to type. I took over the keyboard while she dictated. We went through an entire box of tissues. I went through 2 bottles of wine. The arrest happened on a Tuesday morning, right in front of the student union. Campus police. Real Boston PD. Derek was at a table with his frat brothers, eating breakfast. They walked up and announced he was under arrest for 3 counts of sexual assault. Emma and Sophia had agreed to testify. He jumped up, shouting about his rights, swearing he was innocent, while they cuffed him. Someone filmed the whole thing. 20,000 views in under an hour. His face plastered across Twitter and TikTok with captions about karma and rich boys finally facing consequences. 3 days later, the Harrisons hired Boston's top crisis management firm. They started their campaign, op-eds about rushing to judgment, blog posts about the danger of believing accusations without proof. Derek's mom went on a podcast crying about her son's bright future being destroyed by lies, claiming activists were coaching the girls. The PR firm pumped out stories about his charity work and academic achievements, like that erased what he'd done. By then, Mia's bump was impossible to hide. She stopped going to campus, switched to online classes. We turned her living room into a study space. Jenna brought over a white noise machine because Mia said the silence was too loud when she tried to focus. Week 19, the bail hearing. We watched the live stream from her couch. Derek walked in wearing an expensive navy suit, hair neat, face arranged into the sad, misunderstood boy expression his lawyers probably drilled into him. The judge glanced at the evidence, then set bail at $500,000. His family paid it before we even closed the laptop. Mia didn't say a word, just gripped the couch pillow so hard her knuckles went white. Sandra filed a civil suit the very next day, against Derek and his entire family. Emotional distress. Medical expenses. Intimidation of witnesses. The Harrisons countersued for defamation. Sandra just smiled, she'd been expecting it. 5 days later, a package arrived at Mia's door. It was from the other survivors. Inside, soft blankets, tea, chocolate, and letters, one from each of them telling her she wasn't alone. The last thing in the box was a silver necklace with 5 tiny stars, one for each of them standing with her. She wore it to every doctor's appointment after that. And when things got hard, I'd see her hand drift up to touch it, like a reminder that she had an army behind her. Then Derek broke his bail conditions in the most twisted way possible. Flowers. Left right at Mia's door. The note read, "For our baby." In his handwriting. We called the police immediately, but they hid behind technicalities. Unless we can prove he delivered them, it's not a violation. Mia didn't sleep for 3 days. We took turns staying over because she was up every hour, checking every lock in the apartment. Week 20 was the anatomy scan. The adoptive parents came, hopeful, nervous, holding hands. The ultrasound showed a healthy baby. The adoptive mom started crying the second she saw that tiny face on the screen. Mia smiled for them, but I could see the grief in her eyes. She was happy they were happy, but she was also mourning something stolen from her. The tech printed extra copies of the ultrasound photos. Mia handed all of hers to the adoptive parents. "You should have them," she said softly. That afternoon the DA called, trial date set for 8 months out. After Mia's due date. They said it was fast for sexual assault cases. Mia just stared at the phone. She'd have to testify about the worst night of her life after giving birth. It felt like the system had been designed to break her. A week later, the university finally wrapped their Title IX investigation. Derek was found responsible. Expelled. His fraternity revoked his membership the same day. Sandra forwarded the emails and we celebrated, but it was a quiet, hollow kind of win. That night, Mia started a journal just for letters to the baby. She wrote about the adoption, about the couple she'd chosen, about the love and safety they'd give. She wrote, "You were made from violence, but you will be raised in love." Each letter went into its own envelope, waiting for the day the child might want to know the truth. Week 21 brought the Harrisons' most disgusting move yet, filing for grandparent rights to Mia's baby. Sandra worked through the night, filing emergency motions and arguing that you can't claim parental rights from a crime. The judge set a hearing. Mia threw up from the stress. The local paper dropped a bombshell series on the Harrisons, financial records, payoffs to victims, cover-ups spanning years. The state attorney general announced an investigation into their family foundation. Suddenly, their name was toxic in Boston society. 4 days later, I drove Mia to her glucose test. She chugged the awful orange drink, wrinkling her nose, and sat in the waiting room. The baby started kicking so hard her whole belly shifted. She put a hand on her stomach and laughed, really laughed, for the first time in weeks. "You're going to wear out your real parents," she whispered. The nurse at the desk gave her a look that said she understood everything. That same week at 2 a.m., a brick smashed through Mia's window. The word liar painted across it in red. Glass everywhere. Mia shaking so badly she couldn't dial 911. I called while Jenna held her. The cops took photos, but with no proof of who did it, they claimed there was nothing they could do, even though we all knew. We packed her things that night and drove 3 hours to Priya's cousin's cabin in the woods. It felt like hiding, but safety mattered more than pride. The adoptive parents stepped up, hiring their own lawyer to protect their rights to the baby. They met Mia at the cabin and promised they'd fight the Harrisons forever if they had to. Their lawyer, a tough woman with 2 decades in adoption law, didn't scare easily. 5 days later I moved into the cabin with Mia. Days were quiet, walks in the woods, her hand on her belly. Nights were old movies on the tiny TV while she knit yellow baby booties for the adoptive parents. Week 23, Derek's lawyers tried to get the entire case dismissed. No physical evidence, they argued. Sandra came out swinging, Ashley's recorded confession, multiple victim statements, proof of Derek's pattern. The hearing was chaos, news trucks, survivor groups holding signs outside. We sat in court for 3 hours while the judge read every word, listened to every recording. Mia's hand gripped mine so tight I thought she might break my fingers. Finally, the judge looked up, motion denied. The trial would proceed. Derek's face went ghost white. His father started yelling at their lawyers right there in court. 3 days later, Derek hit a new low, appearing on a podcast that exists solely to defend men accused of assault. For an hour, he painted himself as the victim of cancel culture. Said Mia targeted him for his money. Threw in phrases like post-Me Too hysteria and complained that men can't even talk to women anymore without being accused. It racked up millions of views in a day. Supporters swarmed the comments. Mia saw it on her phone and broke. Hyperventilating, throwing up, full-blown panic attack until we had to call her doctor.